All right. The headline on the Global News website, Dairy is Scary. Billboards outrage farmers in New Brunswick. Joining me to talk about all of this is Erin, Janus, the creator of the Dairy is Scary video, and Bill Wilson, a vegan education group New Brunswick, represents the Halifax chapter as well. Erin and Bill, how are you guys today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
We're doing well. Bill?
I'm great, Todd. Thanks.
Excellent.
I'm great. Thanks, Todd.
All right, good. So let's start. Well, I guess we could start with the creator of this. Erin, tell us for those who haven't seen this, what do they see? What are the billboards? What's the video? What's this all look like? What's your information you're disseminating?
Well, the billboards were created by In Defense of Animals and are now being distributed by activists as part of a campaign to raise awareness about standard practices within the dairy industry. So the Vegan Education Group, with Bill on the phone here, has put these billboards up in their area. The reason that I created this video a few years ago was to raise awareness about things that the cows raised in the dairy industry are enduring. And what you'll see in the video is not just cases of animal abuse, which happens quite often. There are endless cases you can find online, video footage of undercover investigations of horrific animal abuse occurring in the dairy industry. This is in part due to the sheer number of cows being bred and the lack of proper care, veterinary care employees, due to the fact that this is a profit-driven industry. But even on the nicest farms, there are major ethical issues with what these animals are being put through, from being over-milked, cows producing up to 12 times more milk than their bodies are designed naturally to having their babies taken from them right away, to being sent to slaughter when the farmers are done using them. So I want to start a discussion and get the public to talk about this industry isn't ethical, and we actually don't even need cow's milk any more than we need a dog's milk or a rat's milk or a rhino's milk or a zebra's milk. We need our mother's milk, and we can get all of the nutrients we need, all of the deliciousness we crave from plant-based alternatives to cow dairy.
Okay, Bill, what type of response are you getting? I'm sure it's heated at times. I'm sure you're getting people who agree with what you're doing as well, but I'm sure it's across the board, right? What are you hearing?
Yeah, it's across the board. There are some people who are upset, and there's people who are very supportive, and there's people looking for conversations. And we know that's, people being upset is going to be a part of it. That's often what comes when you're trying to shift the conversation, shift the focus to something that people aren't used to thinking about. Milk, a lot of people think dairy is benign. Mm-hmm. It is anything but. There's inherent cruelty and injustice in the dairy industry. And, just the fact that it's about animal use. These animals are not consenting beings, and it's unnecessary.
Bill, do you think that part of that is that over the years, the association that we have with the farmer, with the milk producer, we have a marketing board or a protected market here, of course, in Canada. We know that. But do you think part of that is just this kind of feel-good marketing, good old milk that we've been exposed to over the years?
Absolutely. There's strong strategic marketing. There's a lot of money in the dairy lobby. At one time, maybe people thought that dairy was necessary for food sustainability. It's not. So things are changing. Look at the new food guide. The dairy is now not a food group. There is a priority there for focusing on plant-based proteins for heart health, also for reasons for environmental issues. The biggest study to date on the impact of agriculture, done through Oxford University last year, said that the biggest thing you can do is to avoid meat and dairy, to strike it from your diet.
Erin, I'm sure that, and by the way, I've reached out to the industry, and I hope to next week follow this up with having somebody on from the industry. That's a goal, and to balance this out. But Erin, I'm sure if you talk to many dairy farmers, they would tell you a much different story, that they love their herd, whatever the term would be, that they're ethical. Do you think that they are just unaware of it, or do you think that they're not being truthful, or what's your take from the dairy farmer's perspective who might feel villainized in this situation?
Well, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. It's not black and white. I believe both are possible. So the issue is that even if a dairy farmer likes their cows or is fond of their cows, if we want to talk about love and respect, we simply cannot exploit an animal for their body, for the production of fluids from their body, which are our hormonal response to birth and pregnancy, and then send them to be slaughtered for money when we're done using them. That's not love, that's not respect, that's exploitation, and the result is immense suffering for these sensitive, intelligent, emotional animals. So a dairy farmer may not want to face the facts, but the facts are, if we were doing this to a cat or a dog, there would be no doubt about it. It would be animal abuse. But because it's a cow and our society has just been trained and taught and become familiar with believing cows are here to give us milk, we don't think too much about it to see what the truth really is in this case. But cows don't give milk like apples produce. Apples come from apple trees. Cows give milk because they're mothers, just like dogs give milk because they're mothers, and women give milk because they're mothers. So if farmers want to say they love their animals, their definition of love and the true definition of love may not be the same.
Bill, what's your experience been when it comes to people? Have you seen some transformational stories happen here where people initially have said, don't expose me to that garbage, and then have become converted? Do you see that? Does that happen?
Absolutely. There's messages that come in where someone will post a screenshot of a message that they made maybe a few years before, where they're saying the type of things you're saying, like this is ridiculous or silly, and then 2 years later, like, look, if I can change, anyone can. And they'll say, eventually they came around. And a part of that was being exposed to this information.
And you don't just have to listen to activists themselves. There are former dairy farmers who have become anti-dairy. Mm-hmm. There are also former dairy farmers who have decided to switch to plant-based agriculture. There's a dairy farm in the States that now produces only plant-based vegan-friendly milks, which vegan-friendly means animal-friendly. It means no animals are being directly harmed, exploited, killed, injured, or hurt in any way. And so, rather than just saying we love our cows and this isn't true, we must have a discussion. We must face the facts and look at the examples of all the former dairy farmers who have made the switch away from dairy for good reason.
Erin, we've heard about the seal hunt and PETA and other organizations where something is, you can see a seal being clubbed over the head on the ice of defenseless, and perhaps it's much more impactful on the surface than a herd of cows. Do you find that this messaging is a little more difficult to get people to pay attention to just because of that branding that we're talking about, the friendly cow on the box of the milk carton?
Absolutely. And drinking cow dairy has become part of our culture. Yeah. So we've been accustomed to it. We don't wake up in the morning and rely on seal products. We don't wake up in the morning and club seals for fun. But people do wake up in the morning and pour a product into their coffee or into their cereal that comes directly from an exploited animal who may not even be alive anymore. These animals, we have to face the facts. They are put on transport trucks and either sent to auction for somebody to buy them and kill them how they please, or sent to a slaughterhouse, and they are trembling in these trucks outside of the slaughterhouse. You can witness it yourself. It's on public property. You can see them entering into the property of the slaughterhouse from the sidewalks. They are lactating, they are dripping milk, they are trembling, and they are crying. This is not love. This is animal exploitation, and it is cruel. It's unnecessary, but because we've grown up hearing milk is good for you and seeing milk mustaches on our favorite celebrities and being accustomed to it in marketing media and whatnot, it's hard for people to let go of it because we're facing the fact that something that's become part of our culture and our diet and the recipes in our families needs to be replaced.
Bill, what's your plans for Nova Scotia? Are you planning on bringing these billboards to here?
That's right. The first one will go up next week, and another will follow up the next week.
Where are you putting them?
So there'll be two. Bedford Highway.
Okay, and then look out, right? I'm sure that the backlash will come at that point. What's your feeling on, what are you doing to prepare for that?
Well, let's be clear. We're not against farmers. We're not trying to put them out of business. We just want them to start using plants instead of exploiting animals. Yeah. We're always going to want to drink delicious drinks and eat delicious foods. We can make them from plants, and farmers can make money from.
But if you're a dairy farmer today and your infrastructure set up and that's your market, that's not easy to flip that switch, right? That's obvious.
Right, but it also wasn't easy for Blockbuster employees to go out of business. It also wasn't easy for people printing paper to have to switch their jobs, and I don't see anyone defending all the people who invested into DVD production, moving to Blu-ray and moving to Netflix. Yeah. We must change with the times, and when we're harming animals, it's imperative that we change with the times, and we're here to help. We're here to help lobby to encourage the government to stop subsidizing animal agriculture and start subsidizing the switch to plant-based agriculture, because right now Canadian taxpayers are funding loopholes for dairy farmers to continue making an average over $100,000 a year. Let's start using these government subsidies and loopholes to help these dairy farmers produce plants so we don't have bleeding, crying mother cows because that is a disaster.
Before I let you go, Bill, how are you funding these billboards? Obviously fundraising. How are you getting your money?
Yeah, we had private donations, and a large portion of it came from the the Save movement, which started in Ontario. It's a grassroots movement. They focus on it's called You witness animals up close. They often go to slaughterhouses, the trucks that are transporting the animals, and they'll bear witness. So they get up close. They want to see what's going on. They try to show it to others.
Right.
The Save movement, and there are so many organizations now who are receiving donations to raise awareness about this and help create a better world for animals, because it simply matters. You know, we see charities out there for all sorts of causes. I mean, you name it, there's a charity for it. But animal charities exist too, and they're getting more funding than ever for the reason that education must happen. Because what animals are going through, they experience it. They're sentient, they're conscious, they feel pain, just like our cats and dogs. The only difference is that they're a different species than our cats and dogs.
Excellent.
And we're just
I think we have to see it from their perspective.
I'm just out of time, but thank you so much, Erin and Bill. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
All right,
Todd. Take care. You got it. Yeah, interesting stuff right there, folks. What do you think about this? We have an open hour, 902-405-6000. And we will be balancing the story next week as well with the industry. Actually, I think a dairy farmer, an ex-dairy farmer called. So that's excellent. So what's your take on this or anything else? An open hour, 902-405-6000.